Hi guys, and welcome back to the Terriers Talk. We're now at episode 17 of the weekly review, and it's going to be quite a positive one today. We haven't had ones like this, all the time, but it was a really good week, I'd say, for Huddersfield Town this week. And yeah, we'll start off with the first permanent departure by the ones who got released. That's Juninho Bacuna. We talked about this and we were saying, oh yeah, it's probably going to happen, but we'll be careful about it. And then 30 minutes after we stopped recording, he's announced as a Rangers player. It's something that had to happen. We're just going to repeat ourselves here, but oh well. It's something that really had to happen for the club. I don't know if the fee is as big as we'd want it to be for a player that of his, let's be honest, his undeniable quality. But to get him off the books, to get his wages out of the way, it's a good thing for me. I do like Juninho. I'll be following his career, and looking how he does at Rangers under Stevie G, of course. But yeah, it should hopefully open the door for one, maybe two to come in, depending on if Isaac and Benza follows suit over the next week. So yeah, Ben, I'll let you talk about it. You agree? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think everyone was expecting at least one outgoing this week with everything that was happening with O'Brien. The rumours to Leeds, they cooled off a lot since Tuesday. There's still rumoured interest there, and I doubt that'll go away. To be honest, I reckon that'll probably continue for the next 10 or so days. Because he is a player that is in demand, and when it comes to the end of the window, say somebody goes from a Premier League club, they're going to be looking for somebody to replace him, or if there's an injury, and O'Brien pretty much will fit the mould for most Premier League clubs that are around mid-table or lower table. So it is a move that makes sense. However, with the emerging rumours of O'Brien and them kind of dying down a bit, we were linked with Lewis Ferguson from Aberdeen, who has been compared a lot to O'Brien in the kind of role that he can play, in how important he is for the side, not in terms of on the pitch, but in terms of what he can actually bring to a side and how vital he can be. He plays in a kind of more advanced midfield role, still in centre mid though. So it could be a deal that we've all been crying out for, and partnered with Scott I in the centre of the park, just in front of Hogg or Vallejo. It could be a move that makes a lot of sense for us. Jay, do you think Ferguson would be a good addition, or do you think that potentially we should be looking at another kind of moulder player?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I've not really looked a lot into him, but from what I've heard, he's basically what you said, energetic, young, and to be honest, anyone who comes in and puts a good shift in for the shirt, I'll back. Time will tell. I think it's been quite an interesting week regarding Lois O'Brien. I know we were saying that it was probably his last game in the Town shirt against Preston. But then it's turned on its head to see him start against Sheffield Wednesday and feature against Sheffield United. It's early. Can see Jack looking at me like, oh dear. And then to feature against Everton, it's been an interesting week. We can only hope he does stay because it's O'Brien. He's a very good player to have on the team. But we can only hope, and if he does go, we can just hope we invest smartly. I know Ferguson and Longstaff have been on tip of people's tongues, but we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, and on the topic of Scottish midfielders, there's been some very personal good news for me. Well, not for me, but for me this week, and that's Scott High getting his first international call-up for the Scottish under-21 side. I think it came as a bit of a shock, not because he's not good enough, obviously, but because I had no idea. He had any Scottish heritage. Apparently, it's his grandmother who was Scottish, and that's why he's eligible. Also, his name apparently short for Scottish Highlands, which I thought was very clever. I can't remember who thought up of that, but might have been Stephen Chicken actually. But very clever thinking that up. But yeah, very, very proud of Scott. On a real note, he does deserve it. He's been really good this year. I think he put in another good performance after growing into the game against Everton. Talk about that later, of course, though. But just good luck to him. He's going to be playing at a good level with some good players. Scotland, whatever your thoughts on them are, they do have a good core of youth talent. And but that wasn't the only sort of international football news we had, Ben, was it?
No, I mean, obviously the news with Scott was quite unexpected, but his emergence can't be denied at all. He's been absolutely superb this season, given the lack of first team football at Huddersfield he's really had starting. Another player that pretty much last season wasn't too much involved in starts, Sorba Thomas, who obviously this season has been absolutely incredible, was rumoured to be up for a chance for the Wales call-up. Something that, again, came out of the blue. Nobody really expected it, although his form was absolutely incredible. I think BBC tweeted something saying that the Wales manager or somebody in the Wales setup was considering him for this international call-up. And it's one of those things where if you think a month ago or even a few months ago, Tawi was playing last season, if you'd have seen that he'd been rumoured to have a Wales call-up, you wouldn't be laughing, but you'd be kind of a bit puzzled, to be honest, because this season he's just looks a completely different breed of player. And whilst I think it's unlucky that he hasn't got into the Wales squad, I think it'll be absolutely brilliant for us because it just serves us now. He's got an extra purpose to go and fight for. He's been considered, but he's not made it this time. So it means that for the next however long until the next international break, he's now got a massive kick on to try and get into that Wales squad because, let's be honest, they're going to be in a life without Gareth Bale very soon. So they're going to need a new star to come and bring them up. And hopefully for us, that can be Sorba Thomas. And you won't be surprised in a few years, even in a few months, if he's in that setup because he's been absolutely brilliant this season and is in a position where he's not been fully confident in, dare I say. He's looked absolutely brilliant in every game. He's impressed us, which takes us to the first game of the week that we'll speak about, Sheffield United. It was a game where I think we were all, as Jack says, we were somewhat confident, but we had to face reality, and it was a stark contrast to that. I'd say, Jay. Do you think that at the time of kickoff you were quite confident, especially seeing a lineup no Jordan Rhodes?
Like you said, I was quietly optimistic. No Jordan Rhodes did pain me a bit. To see Danny Ward up front again did raise a few question marks. We'll go on to Danny's performance a bit later on. But no, seeing that Sheffield United team, I got it right this time. It was quite a scary thing to look at on paper, but actually, in reality, it really wasn't. I think you could have omitted 10 names and just started Sanderberg, and it would have had the same effect. Absolutely everything came through him, and you can tell why he's wanted by Arsenal last season. He's a terrific footballer, but no, I think we started very brightly. I think the fans played a massive part last Saturday. One of the best away ends I've ever been in for Huddersfield Town. It just felt it felt really good to be back. I could not think of a better managed performance under Carlos Corberán. You could call it a smash and grab, or you could call it something which the phrase is probably not suitable for this podcast. I was massively happy with the lads. I think we sat very deep. Sheffield United did play a lot of football around us, side to side, and they didn't really get through us. I thought we absorbed the pressure a lot, and we did, albeit one or two missed Fraser Campbell chances, take our opportunities. I thought, again, Sorba Thomas was unbelievably bright. He was involved in all things positive. I thought Nabby Sar was absolutely excellent. And we'll go on to talk about Nabby a bit later. But, Jack, I'll go to you first before we do talk about the goals. How impressed were you overall with the side's ability to just sit back and just absorb the pressure and be resilient?
I was absolutely furious throughout that entire first half. Because when you're at a football game and you're watching players sit there and not press the ball, it's so frustrating. And then after the game, you sit back and you watch it back and you look at it from a sideline point of view. I think that was actually quite clever, wasn't it? But yeah. So during the game, I was fuming. I was thinking, why is Oggy backing out of challenges? Why is O'Brien backing out of challenges? Why are you just letting him? Why are you letting someone like Sander Berge, who is a player? What a player he is. They had one or two good players, quite like Chris Basham as well on the day. But what a player Berge is. They'll be lucky to keep him for the rest of the week. But yeah, I was very, very frustrated in the ground. I was looking back on it and watching the highlights pretty much immediately. When we got home, the first one I could find, I did. It was just smart. And it was the way to do it, because what Sheffield United did, and this is why Sheffield United will struggle under Slavisa Jokanovic, and I don't think it'll change, is they have a lot of possession, and then they'll give it to Baldock, or on the day Norrington Davies, or could be Ben Osborne, and they'll flash it across the box, and no one's there, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again, and eventually they'll get it wrong, and then you can go back up again yourself, and that's their biggest issue. Because they don't have, for all the strikers they've got, no one seems to want to gamble. McGoldrick didn't. McBurney, the best he got was an overhead kick he set up himself. And the man himself, Lee Nichols, was having none of that. But yeah, it was, it's a lot different, I think, being in the ground and analysing a football match. It's different and it's hard because the emotions are there. And you're at probably the wrong angle, especially when you're behind or in front of the game. You're definitely at the wrong angle, especially for a performance like that, especially where you're just sitting back. But it was well managed, as you said. Probably the best under Carbrand. Swansea away comes to mind last season. We'll go out of the goals, and Sorba Thomas, as if we couldn't rave about him enough, just takes the ball forward as he does, and it's just a great pass through. It's unfortunate that Fotheringham managed to get a touch, because I think Karoma's first effort was actually quite good, and he sent Fotheringham and he just stuck a leg out, and that robbed Sorba Thomas of what would be his fourth assist of the Championship and Cup campaign. But oh well. And it's really, really composed from Karoma to just take his time, and he understands that Basham is still down, and for whatever reason he's just trying to stay on the ground, and if it comes, he's trying to swing a leg at it. So he takes his time, don't put it in the corner, but he puts a lot behind it. And it's Josh Karoma's first goal of the season, and it's the first time he's played at left wing, and I don't think that's a coincidence. And I think he can't play in that 2 again with a striker, because his game is solely coming in or going back out from the left, and he's equally good at both. But he has to be on that left wing. And he showed it for the rest of the game as well. He was causing way more danger on the wing against a good fullback in George Baldock. So, yeah, it was a really good goal. And a bit of a funny thing, as you mentioned, Jay, the away end is quite long. And Josh Karoma started shushing. And I think he realised, they've got the Huddersfield badges on the front of their shirts. And then within seconds, he put that down and he started doing his little dance that he likes to do. But it was just thinking about it, I'm smiling, man. It was just so great to be there, wasn't it, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the first half was extremely frustrating. But just as you said, watching the highlights back, the shape that we held throughout and weren't allowed to kind of be taken apart. I can remember I turned to who I was sat next to and just said we're being far too respectful. But actually watching it back, it was good that we were that respectful, because if, say, for example, somebody like Hogg had rushed out and gone for Sander Berge, he'd have picked the pass out, and that would have left us so empty in the middle. But we just managed the game brilliantly. I can't remember where it was exactly from, but I saw a stat saying that last season we were one of the 4th highest possession retainers in the Championship. Saturday we had 40-something% possession, I think, at a maximum. And it just shows how last season we were one of the best footballing sides in the division in terms of passing the ball around. And this season, whilst we also can do that, we've learned almost that you don't have to do that every game, which is, I think, Jay said last season, Carlos was very naive in terms of his setup and his tactics in games, and that was potentially why people were against it. However, come full time, everyone was so positive about how that had probably been Carlos's best game and how it showed real tenacity and just resoluteness to keep us how we were in that game and to not kind of force anything through. Sheffield United equalised 90+2. The fans absolutely erupted. It was not pleasant to be in that away end at that point. It was one of them ones where you've played so well for 45, maybe 50 minutes at a max. The first half wasn't enjoyable to watch. It was well played from us, but it wasn't enjoyable. And to lose a game that late on, to lose 2 points so late on even, it hurt almost. I remember one of their fans, as Jay tweeted, went and pushed Nichols. Was kind of giving it the big uns to the defenders. Was celebrating in front of their cop, only for Huddersfield Town to win it late on. You know, who would have said at the start of last season we would be set piece merchants this season? Because I genuinely could never have thought of the day that Huddersfield Town would be scoring so many from set pieces. I don't know the percentage of how many goals we scored from set pieces, but it's probably high up. But we look really good from set pieces again. Sorba Thomas heavily involved, a really good ball in. It's dealt with enough. However, Nabby Sar gets the ball out, and instead of going backwards or sideways, he's played it to Vallejo, who I'm not really sure where he's trying to play the pass, but it's somewhat effective. I don't know if it's to O'Brien or if it's to Toffolo. If it's either or, it worked. Toffolo continues his run, and the best centre back in England taps it in. Full time, people were saying it was offside. None of their team complained about it. Linesman had nothing to say about it, and it was potentially some of the best scenes in an away end that I have been involved in. It was just, it was incredible. I don't think anybody expected us to get 3 points come the end of the first half, and just to win a game how we did. Losing to Fulham in the way that we did, and then picking up a 1-0 win against Preston in a not nice way, and then being so resolute against Sheffield United just shows how far we've come so far this season. It really is leaps and bounds, because last season we'd have lost all 3 of those games, so we'd be looking at the way that we are in a completely different way. We'd be saying how stuff needs to change, whether Carlos is the right man for the job. However, right now, you'd be daft to potentially say that Carlos should be replaced, because his game management has come on leaps and bounds. Do you think it's the right? Do you think it was the right kind of way to finish that game, Jay? Do you reckon that we should have gone for the 3 points, or would you just been happy with a point there and said, you know what, 4 points or however many points from 4 games is enough for me? Or do you reckon? What do you reckon?
I mean, when that Billy Sharp goal went in, your heart just sunk, didn't it? I mean, the way we let them come on to us and be quite resilient and kind of not go for that second goal, and to switch off and concede that, it was heartbreaking. But I think we were all in agreement that when that Sharp goal went in, it was not done. The game was not done. I had a feeling, right, this is not ending here. I think if Carlos hadn't made those substitutions, Scott Howe went off for Toffolo and Campbell went off for Ward, came on for Ward, it would have been completely different. I think those two allowed us a lot more energy and a lot more fluidity when moving forward. I think when Campbell came on, the pitch opened up a lot, and you could see that Sorba was running through the middle. But no, to answer your question, I genuinely believe that is how we're going to play football going forward. We are not going to give up. That is the Terrier spirit that has been mentioned over the past 3-4 years. I was just absolutely chuffed to bits. And I don't think there was ever a better guy or kid, basically, to score the winning goal. You would not want the ball to fall to anyone else but Levi Colwill there, because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a calm, composed finish. And like you said, Ben, it was absolute carnage. I mean, I didn't even see the celebrations. I was on some random man's shoulders. Honestly, it was unbelievable. It was just, it just made you appreciate what football does to you. And I think to have that momentum and to have the possibility of winning 3 league games on the bounce, fingers crossed for Saturday against Reading, and we'll get onto that, is massive. And like you rightly said, it just shows how far we've come in the space of not even 2 weeks. And there's so much more to come. And we have covered pretty much all that Sheffield United game. And I was going to say, fingers crossed we have no injuries. But then we get a big bombshell with the press conference with news that Jordan Rhodes and Pippa will be out for thereabouts 3 months each. Rhodes, Carlos said 2 to 3 months for the back injury, and Pippa, unfortunately, his recovery hadn't gone to plan, and I think that's surgery and 3 months, so there's always a risk of that being longer if his rehab doesn't go to plan. Of course, both wish them speedy recoveries, and it does beg the question, do more players need to come in? Jack, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, they do. More so a striker for me, because having seen how Matty Pearson played at full-back against Everton, I feel like we have got a real option there at right-back. I also think that Aaron Rowe will be good for the 5 at the backs as well when he gets back, because he showed himself to be quite the wing-back last year. As can Sorba Thomas. Now Toffolo's back, he could play that right wing-back role. So I think that the right back is less urgent, although Ollie Turton, with all due respect, as the start that probably wanted at Town. I would say I think I rate him more than 95% of Town fans, but he definitely has had the start he wanted. But I don't think the right back's as crucial as a striker. Now we have 2 senior strikers. We'll probably only have one youth striker in Kean Harrott at the moment. But, if we can just get someone in on loan, just a body up front, ideally we'd want a big man, because of all the crosses we put in and all of the great set-piece deliveries from Sinani as well now, which we've seen against Everton, sort of robbed of an assist, bless him. But, if we did have a big man up top, it'd give us so much more opportunities. Obviously not, but someone like Kiefer Moore, someone who's got a bit of pace, someone who can finish, someone who's good with his head, a diet Kiefer Moore, just someone like that. So like we could have gone and got Adebayo in January. Everyone knows that story, and whatever actually happened, we won't comment because no one really knows. But that was 200, 300k apparently. If we could go out and get someone like that, it'd be great, and it would really, really boost our chances of doing something this year more than what we have been doing. Kicking on, getting top half would be excellent. And I think a striker coming in, especially after Jordan's injury, but even before that, to be fair, would be really great. And they've got a week now. I don't think that's the only thing we need, but they've got a week to show. First of all, I think the priority for them is getting Mbenza out the door, and we don't know how close that is or whatever. But I'll stop going on a bit of a tangent here, and I think a striker would be great. I'd obviously take a right back, but I don't think it's too crucial. As I say, we do have them players who can fill in a right back and wing back role. But Ben, do you agree? Do you think we should be looking at a right back really?
Yeah, I think it's a position where we have got players that can fit in there. We have got utility players that can and will play there. It's just the case of you kind of want somebody that will fit systems. Turton, for me, I'm still not hugely sold on. In the 5, he's looked quite shaky at times. Obviously, we'll get onto his performance last night. But I think we do need somebody that can play at the wing back role. Obviously, we've got Rowe coming back. Whether it's a case of we play a 5 or a 4, we're still kind of unsure about that. Because we do have players that can fit in the 5, and we do have players that can fit in the 4. So it's kind of a bit where do we actually go from there in terms of additions to the squad. A striker is a must now if it wasn't already. As much as I love Rhodes, as much as I love Fraser Campbell, and as much as I'm all right with Danny Ward. I do think that without the injury to Jordan Rhodes, I don't think that we were strong enough there. We do need somebody there, just something a bit different. Obviously, Rhodes is a bit of a target man compared to Ward and Campbell. Campbell more so is more of a pressing forward, and then we just need something else there. Whether that is another target man, whether that's just somebody who is a complete out and out forward, that will remain to be seen. You hit the nail on the head there with Adebayo. Obviously, he's tearing it up at Luton now, and it's one of them signings where what could have been, dare I say, if we'd have had somebody like Munya the Poacher, we'd be absolutely flying. Not in terms of actually the players themselves, but just a target man that gets the body in there, and that is something that we do need. So hopefully we can look to the lower leagues. We've been so successful with that so far this past few years with the likes of Karoma and Sorba Thomas. So whether that's the case, we look down to the National League again and hope to find another gem, or we look to League One, League Two, and that's what needs to happen. And then another centre mid would be nice to cover Bacuna, and just in case O'Brien goes. So I think the ideal for me is 3 more additions. Obviously, I wouldn't say no to more than that, but I think 3 additions, a lone striker, another centre mid, and then a full back or a wing back. It's an nail on the head for me. I think then we're looking at a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 window. Jay, do you think 3 is the right number, or do you think maybe we should be looking at less or more?
I think the striker is definitely a must now. I think we have to get one through the door. A right back, I think it just depends on what system we play. I think turning in the 4 at the back, I think he do, because he is an out-and-out right back. I think he's been quite unlucky because we have to play in the 5. And maybe that's thrown people off him a bit, which is understandable, because the average Gillen Joe fan won't look and think, oh yeah, he's playing that position, blah blah blah. People just turn up and watch the game, and fair enough. And yeah, the midfielder would be nice. I think that's definitely not priority, but it would be nice. But yeah, I think what we do need is a striker who is competent and knows where the net is, because like you said, we have some scary set piece takers. And that's not something you say a lot, being a Huddersfield Town fan. But that probably does wrap up the league game and the injury news and everything like that. And we'll go straight into Everton, which was last night for us. And eyebrows were raised because it was a very decent team that we fielded, with a lot of regular first team players, and they fielded a strong team. I think Benitez made 9 changes, but still, you've got no excuse. You're a Premier League side, and you do have that Premier League quality. And I thought personally, it was one of the most entertaining and successful performances under Cobram. I think yesterday's performance really did unite the fans. I thought the John Smith was absolutely bouncing for 10,000 fans. Mightily impressed. And that's just touching the surface. There's a lot more to go into. I thought we were massively unlucky not to come away with anything at all. There were some questionable officiating decisions for both teams, but we started very, very well. I thought players like High and maybe a bit of Alex Vallejo took a bit of warming up to the game, as did everyone really, but on the whole, we did start very well. And it was just good to see there was no fear there. Because normally when you do come up against the Premier League side in the Cup, I think we were all in agreement that it will be a respectful loss, respectable loss, 2 or 3-0. But we put up a fight, and you could tell that at the start. There were, firstly, some conversations raised, and I'll go to Jack on what formation we're playing. People saying out the back, far at the back. Jack, what do you think, and how do you think it was so effective? Because it did work, whatever we did play.
Yeah, in my mind, first and foremost, it was a 4-3-3. I think that without the ball, it was certainly because Matty Pearson was definitely a lot further out wide than a centre half should be, and Toffolo was definitely in a left back position. But I was so confident about that, and I was very confused when I came home and saw people saying, "Oh, well, it's good that the three at the back's working." But then I sort of think about it, and I think in transition and in attack, Sinani, he was all over the place. I challenge you to tell me where he played last night, but that's not a bad thing, of course, because we'll get on him in a minute. But I think it was a mix between a 4-3-3 and I'm going to say a 3-4-3. I think, and that's not something we're too unfamiliar with. But it looks like it's an adaptation. It really, really worked. And at times, some of the stuff, like, you got to remember, it was a rotated Everton side, but this is players, like John Joe Kenny. He's a good footballer. The front three is, I don't know how much they spent on it. Obviously, Townsend was free, but Iwobi was 40, wasn't he? And Keane was 20, 30. So you got 70 million across that front three. In midfield, Tom Davies, Asmir Begovic in goal showed his quality once or twice, To play that way, I believe that way, in that sort of fluid, shifting formation way, which works for thanks to players like Sorba Thomas and Matty Pearson now, who can play multiple positions. It's really, really impressive. And that is the benchmark now, to go out every game with that sort of, obviously not every game. There's games like Sheffield United where you need to sit back and it works. But to go out to games with that sort of, mentality and aggression on the ball, as you say, with players like Vallejo and Scott High, it took them a little bit and there was a few misplaced passes. But by the end of the night, Vallejo and Scott High looked like the Premier League players on that pitch, compared to who they were up against. They were rolling players, pinging balls, especially Vallejo with the second one. His passing range last night was sublime. But I'm very, very, very pleased, and very pleased, especially for Tom Lees, who came in very late on, day of the first game of the season, actually. And he's already got his first goal in the Carabao Cup against the Premier League side. And that ticks off every single centre-half, senior-wise, at the club has finally scored after a long 6 games, which is quite impressive, to be fair. And as Ben said, it rings, it's testament to the quality of set pieces at our football club. It's great. And as I just said, very, very proud of that performance. It needs to continue. That is the benchmark. I think it's only right to talk about Everton's goals. So Ben, first one, Vallejo loses his man, and Tom Lees just isn't there. So, is that a real problem, or do you think it's just Premier League quality shining through?
I think it's a bit 50-50. I think as much as I want to say it's a bit disappointing, you've got to remember at the same time that, it is a Premier League side. They are going to be able to pounce on these mistakes. I remember at the start of the season, we were all saying with the mistakes that we were making pre-season, we were going to get caught out a lot at the back. And whilst, it's only a few games into the season, it's not a major issue. To see it happening only really once so far this season against a team like Everton, it's not really as much a concern as I thought it would be. It's not ideal, but when you face a side with that quality, it's going to happen. Jay, do you think that it's just, or do you think that it's something that needs to be looked at, and potentially it's something that on a rather successful game for Tom Lees on a personal note, is something that he's going to come away and be worrying about that?
No, I don't think so. I think apart from that, Lees was immense. Forgive me, I'm not sure how tall he is, but he doesn't look the biggest. Maybe that's because he's paired with Nabby Sar and Pearson, but he was winning absolutely everything. I was massively impressed because against Preston, he was I think he was mediocre. He was all right, which we did discuss last episode. But no, he stepped up. He did very well, and I think you're right, Jack. It was a very, very fluid formation in the end, and that just allowed us to transition. And I thought he was integral in that. Him and Sar provided brilliant cover for Vallejo in midfield. If you Vallejo, you feel very, very confident to step out of midfield and advance forward, which he did very, very well. And I think, like I mentioned before, I do feel very hard done by, because there was our second goal again, which came from an unbelievable set piece. I think it was Sinani this time. Again, he's a wizard, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes, no doubt. Lovely ball, and Matty Pearson, I think it is, heads home. Now, I've not seen the replay in a VAR style fashion, but there is one problem, and that's, I think, Fraser Campbell. Now, whether that's because he's obstructing the keeper or he's in an offside position, I don't know. But I think Everton did have one of their goals disallowed wrongfully as well. So it does kind of cancel it out. As heartbreaking as it is, that's football. We have left every single ounce of commitment, blood, sweat and tears on that field last night. And personally, I could not be prouder of the lads. And I think that was universally shared around the Huddersfield Town fan base. And hopefully it's raised more eyes across the country, because it was a broadcasted game. And you never know what cup football will bring. And I'm not sure there were any big upsets last night, but ours could have definitely been one. And it's a shame because it wasn't, but I think that game last night was massively, massively beneficial to every single player that took part. And to be honest, there's not much more to say other than well done. And we'll just speak about one individual, because when we all saw him in the starting lineup, we thought, yes, all right, this is opportunity. Danel Sinani. Jack tweeted last night a picture of one of the Simpsons. Looked like they were having a lovely dream, sleeping very well. I think it was captioned, "Me going to sleep now and I get to talk about Danel Sinani on Terriers Talk." So Jack, mate, you take it away.
Oh, thank you very much for that. I was dreading, after I put that, I was like, oh, you two are just going to talk about him. And I'll be like, oh, well, thanks, see you later. Subscribe. But no, within 2 minutes, he put a back heel flick through to Sorba Thomas, and that set the tone for his game. Inventive, creative, he took risks, willingness to shoot, good on the ball. His miss, I'll get that out of the way first. First of all, it's a great save from Asmir Begovic to adjust to save that shot, because he hits it well, he hits it into the ground, it makes it difficult. The second one, let's just not get on his right foot. We've learned from that he's not a right-footed player, so that's fine. Brush it under the carpet. But yeah, he was just phenomenal. I think against Premier League opposition as well. To have his first, I don't want to say 90 minutes, his first start in blue and white, obviously, and he's really shown us what he's about. And I think for me, he has to start from here on. Even if he has only got 60, 70, 75 minutes in the tank, I'd rather him start than get subbed on, because I feel like he can really set tempo for games, get us, real chances, get on the end of chances himself, obviously. And I think as well, we talk about bringing in another striker, but I think he is capable of playing as like a false nine. In his interview, and obviously just watching it, he talks about how he loves to play between the lines, and that's pretty spot on. to be honest. He's a good assessor of his own game. And he drifted between probably right wing, the centre of midfield, attacking midfield, just in behind Fraser Campbell, in front of him at times. It's a really, really good player to have, and I'm very, very pleased with that performance. I'm sure you guys all are too. I think there's a couple others to talk about as well as Nabby Sar, who I'm very pleased with this season. I think he added a lot of consistency to his game.
Yeah.
And he's been, I don't think there's a game where he's been anything less than good. So he hasn't been average. He's been good. He's been winning balls. He seems better in the air now. He was a bit, 50-50 in the air last year, to be perfectly honest. He seems better. He's passing, he's consistent and more measured. He's less erratic with the ball. I'm really, really pleased, but it's a headache to have him and Colwill, obviously both being left-footed. But Ben, do you agree that Nabby Sar was sort of seeing, we saw glimpses last year, but we sort of seen a different player in terms of his consistency?
Yeah, I think his confidence has come on loads, because this season he just looked completely different. He's looked more capable just in every single factor of it. Winning duels in the air, he's won more this season than he did last season. Playing out from the back, his diagonals, just everything about his game looks to improved over the summer. And that's something that is, last season we got told from Charlton fans whenever there was a mistake that, this is what we told you about. And this season, he'll still make mistakes here and there. There'll be little ones, but they won't be as calamitous as they were last season, which is major. Because, last year we were obviously not too fond of him at times, whereas this season, we're having debates about him being star of the week every other week, and that is something which is really, really positive. He has come on a lot as a footballer, and as a free, he's never going to be the best centre back in the world. He came on a free from Charlton, but he is definitely a lot better than what we were getting from their fans, and that fills me with confidence that the deals that we are looking to do in the free agent market are all very good, and that will be successful for us. Obviously, Tom Lees, Matty Pearson, Ollie Turt, and Josh Ruffles. Although we haven't seen as much of them as we have Sar, they all have shown glimpses. Obviously, Josh Ruffles not as much, if at all, yet, because he's barely played. But the rest of them have shown glimpses. Another one, Alex Vallejo. He is just an absolutely brilliant footballer, and I think there's now debates as to whether he should start on Saturday ahead of Hogg. It's one of them ones. I think with Hogg you get that reliability, you get a more kind of not laid back, but a kind of more sitting back, holding midfielder, which some games you need, some games you don't. Vallejo's progression with the ball is just simply stupendous. It's absolutely incredible. I don't know what they put in the tap water over in Spain, but just the passing range that he has is quite frankly daft. It is just absolutely superb. Against Sheffield United, obviously we spoke about that pass, but again last night, just playing balls with ease. It really is something that we do need going forward, and he will help us a lot in the midfield. If you partner him with a Scott Iron, Lois O'Brien, you're going to have a really good midfield. Even a Danel Sinani, you've got a really solid midfield three that you've not paid a penny for. You paid loan fees on Sinani, and that's it. And that's quite mental, to be honest. But yeah, I think that really covers it all. So the big debate that we've been having before the game, star of the week, obviously I touched on Nabby Sar there. Toffolo, I think, is up there. I think just for the impact he had on Saturday. Who are we going to go with, lads? Because obviously it is a big debate.
I think Toffolo can have it. I don't think he had his best game against Everton, but just the way obviously Toffolo and Campbell came on and we went to 3-4-3 at Sheffield United, and we didn't mention that at all. And I feel bad actually reviewing that Sheffield United game and not mentioning Toffolo, but here we can say he was crucial. He really was crucial. The goal aside that he was involved in, his link up with Karoma and O'Brien, obviously, having that back is fantastic. You know, getting up and down, just off a lot of things really. And I think we sort of got an unwritten rule that we won't give it 2 players in a row. And Nabby obviously won it last week. So I think his honorary mention goes to Nabby. I think we'll give one to Sorba Thomas as well, as always. But yeah, Harry Toffolo for me. Jay, any issue or?
No objection. And I am absolutely elated that actually we have multiple players who could get it. Whereas in the past it's been, yeah, all right, Aaron Rowe, well done. You know, Sorba Thomas, well done. The rest of you, come on, what are you doing? Pull your finger out. But no, I'm very happy, and I'm excited. And the reason why I'm excited is because we have the chance to make it 3 league games, 3 league wins in a row. We've got Reading Saturday the 28th. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'll be watching, hopefully watching India absolutely batter England in the cricket. That's a different story. But no, Reading sit 18th and we sit 10th. Wow, 10th. It is a massive, massive, massive opportunity to show some intent and to show what we're on about. 3 wins in a row would just be sensational. And it'd be a testament to how far we've come. Obviously, we haven't got those 3 points yet. It's a championship. Anything can happen, like we said in the past 2 weeks. That's probably a phrase that me and Jack have probably coined. How good are we feeling? Because it's not often we think, oh my God, you know, lads, we're on a roll here. You know, I want to be sat in John Smith Stadium watching Huddersfield Town play. That's not been the case for the past 2-3 years, but actually, now we think about it, it is. How are we feeling?
Yeah, just really good. Obviously, you know, it's difficult. You know, it has been difficult because I love this club, you know, with all my heart. But I'll admit that it's been tough, you know, sometimes because you know, we don't often, you know, get probably what we deserve as a fan base sometimes in terms of application, in terms of ability, you know. But at the moment, it's really good. And I was saying this last night, the players should be really, really proud of themselves for turning around the attitude after Fulham. They should be really, really proud because it has done not a complete shift. Obviously, there's still question marks, obviously, as with most football clubs, if your name's not Manchester City or Chelsea. But, you know, it's going to be a good game. You know, Reading are a good footballing side. They've lost 3 out of 4. You know, players like, you know, Joao aren't pulling up trees like they did last time, but they've got John Swift, who's had a great start. You know, if you're a fan of the Championship, you know John Swift is a football player. You know, he's a very, very good one. But I think that we need to just go out, as I said, with the exact same mentality. You know, play at them, get the ball to Sorba Thomas, get the ball to Sinani, who should be starting. Yeah, fingers crossed. You know, get the ball to Toffolo. Go out with the same sort of fluid formation. So have Pearson as a right back, right centre back. You know, that's what I'd do anyway. But yeah, just you got to attack Reading. You know, they're at a weak point. You know, they're obviously a low point, having only won 1 game, and that is with all due respect against Preston. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I think we really can get 3 points, and we can really make a statement, to be fair, to the rest of the league, that we are here to actually do something this year and not just make numbers up down towards the bottom. Ben, do you agree, or do you think that it could be another game where it could get brought back down to earth?
No, I think it's an excellent chance for us to push on again. You know, 10th place is a brilliant place to be. It's very clear from the relegation zone. You know, it is early, but 10th place. If you'd have told me 4 games in after 2 games against 2 sides that had come down from the Premier League last season that we'd be sitting in 10th, I would bite your hand off. It's an absolutely brilliant accolade so far. Reading are a side that, you know, they are down at the moment, and hopefully we can pile on a bit of pressure onto them. They were a good side last season, so it's kind of questioning what's happened there that's caused them to kind of hit the rough patch that they are now. But hopefully, for our sake, we can kind of boost ourselves a bit further away from the relegation zone, more towards playoffs even, dare I say. You know, who'd have thought when Scott I said that we're pushing for the playoffs this season that we'd actually be pushing for them. It is early doors, but you know you gotta aim high. Otherwise, what's the point in even aiming? It's a game where we can look to attack, and we should look to attack, and we need to just go at them. You know, the last 45 at Sheffield United, the last 15 or so against Preston, the entire game against Everton last night, we've gone at a side, and it's nearly paid off in that case last night, but it's paid off. And if we go back and we go and play quite resolute football against Reading, it's going to be 3 steps forward, 5 back. It's not ideal in the slightest. So we need to keep up this momentum that we've got. It's going to be a tough game, we all know that. But if we can go out there and we can attack them fully, then who knows? We could get 3 wins in a row. Which who'd have actually thought that we'd be saying this? You know, it's baffling, but it's lovely to say. You know, it's something that for so long we've been speaking about 3 losses in a row, 3 draws in a row even, and now we're looking at potentially 3 wins. It's really, really nice to look at, and it's a very stark contrast from last season. Jay, do you think it can continue past 3, or how long can this run potentially go on for, given if we go outsides?
Well, we have to get to 3 first, but no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I just think we take it game by game. I think after Reading, we've got an international break, which gives the squad a chance to either go out, and I'm not sure who's on duty apart from Scott High, and I'm not sure there'll be some other youth players. Good luck to them, and I think we've got Stoke afterwards, which we will talk about obviously in depth the next episode. Who are made a very, very good start to the season, if I'm not wrong. I think they score one of the contenders for goal of the season, dare I say it, returning to prime Barcelona 2012. Unbelievable. No, I mean, for me, it's just we're taking it game by game. We've not been the most lucky side with injuries and problems and, you know, off the field, hassle, COVID, all that. So to be a Town fan right now, it is just game by game, you know. And all you can do is hope the lads leave everything out on the pitch like they have been doing for the past 2, definitely 2, maybe not so much past than 3 games. I'm, of course, ever the optimist. And I truly believe with the players we have and the systems we are using, and I say systems because we definitely used 2 separate systems in the same game for the past 2 games, we can put up a fight this season.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think I agree with everything. I think that's as good a place as any to sort of leave it off there. I think, as you mentioned, the international break, we have to find somewhere that streams Scotland under 21 games out. But yeah, no, thank you guys for watching. As we say, you know, we'll have something planned, some exciting stuff here in that international break. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed both this week supporting Huddersfield Town and this episode. If you can like, subscribe, share it around, do whatever you want. We will see you next time when we review Reading. You guys have a good one. See you later.